hey, she's back.
I couldn't remember exactly how that works, so it took me a
Yeah.
minute.
You're not running the pop shop like every week, being like, oh, where can I get on this? I don't know.
Where can I get on? I know. No, I've only come on here with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm doing excellent. How was the move? How you all settled in now?
The move, we've all settled in. I've eaten my body weight in tacos and chips and queso.
I mean, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Like, what else are you going to do when you live so far south?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm sure it's great chips and queso. When I went out to San Diego, because I live up in in New England, and you get fish tacos up here, and I'm like, ugh, these are very mediocre. And I was out in San Diego for a couple weeks, and I was like, holy shit, fish tacos are awesome, So now I'll try them more. I'm like, yeah, they're okay, It's kind of one of those things.
They're all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. The grocery store down here, like, this is the most random thing that Texans are obsessed with, but, like, it's true. Any Texan that you encounter will talk about the magic and wonder that is HEB, and they have this queso tube that's better, not tube, tub, that's better.
A tube of queso, it's like...
A tube of queso.
Yeah.
It's better than most quesos that I've had in restaurants, and I ate it for lunch yesterday, on Sunday. It was wonderful.
Nice. I'm jealous. Well, awesome. I'm glad everything's going well down there. And how's the tarot game going for you?
The tarot game.
Yeah, I mean, you're like I said, you've got podcasts, and I think you took a break for doing readings for people for a while, or forever. I don't.
I did. So I'm still on. I'm actually opening up for readings again in the next couple weeks, probably. I haven't set a date. But yeah, it got a lot of tarot accounts or spiritual accounts in general will have so many scam accounts, like copycat accounts, that it took away all the fun of what I do. And it's really hard to promote your readings when it's like I spent more time saying, that's not me, I won't message you for readings. And finally I was like, fuck it. So yeah, I paused them for a while, and I've been working on changing my content, and since I did that, the scam accounts aren't as bad, so I'm gonna try again and see. I don't know. We'll see.
I got a question from Kelly. Did the house ghost follow you with the move? You had a house ghost last time? I don't remember.
So I did have one ghost in Florida who came fairly regularly and actually did come for a visit here. Only once, but yeah. Otherwise it's pretty quiet here.
Oh, nice. One of the things, so before we get into everything, I posed this question that I said earlier on Reddit, and it's basically, what is it about, like, you... I dabble. I look into all this stuff, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I read little articles. I'm like, oh, cool. You're more into all this stuff. That you're into this like world than I am, obviously. And so I like posed this question, like, why do it seems to be like there's a time limit of like spirits, like past like 200, 300 years kind of deal, and why aren't we getting like, all these, like, there's somebody on Reddit was just like, oh yeah, if we're supposed to be seeing spirits constantly, they could fill in like timelines and like histories and stuff like that with like when you contact them and all that. But it just seems to be either like there's a cutoff point or something like that. So I was like, maybe the afterlife, there's like a lifespan that can like that they have before they have to like learn to move on, or well, we can have 8 million different theories, but I figure what better way to kind of try to figure it out is actually try to contact somebody.
I know, that would be fantastic. Yeah, so I never thought about it exactly that way before, but you're right. Like, there's all those memes that are like, why are all ghosts from the Victorian times? Yeah. And not, yelling, it's Britney bitch or whatever.
Yeah, meme ghosts.
Meme ghosts, yeah. I think that you could technically still contact older spirits just on some, like if they really wanted to answer, they could. Sorry, that's my dog. I'm gonna have to let him. out. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, let's try to talk to someone.
Yeah.
Come on.
So basically, somebody on Reddit was talking. I wrote notes here, so I'm just gonna go back because I went through all the comments. I'm like, oh yeah, that was great. Somebody said that they had a friend that lived in Israel, and nothing, never any spirit visitations, nothing like that. They came to America and they moved over to Yellowstone, and then also their cabin was haunted as fuck. So ghosts were like coming at them all the time and that kind of shit. So I was like, oh man, that's kind of weird. You figure like one of the most ancient like places on Earth would have more activity.
So many ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe because something to do with the whole Yellowstone activity. Who really knows? But I don't know. It's a weird kind of thing to like kind of try to explore. Somebody else also said on there that there is and the reason why I'm bringing it up now is because maybe we can kind of like when we're actually trying to like reach out, maybe we can try to think of those to add question to ask something like that. But what is it? Like, is there prerequisites to being able to reach through, like to be able to come over to like speak to human beings, you know, kind of deal? I know there's always talked about energy and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Like on the ghost end, like
yeah.
Is there something that you do? You know, I don't really know. What the like. I don't know what the rules are for ghosts to like. You can and you can't. I think that it depends on like how much they want to talk, though, because like I think that technically you could reach out to pretty much anyone, but if they don't want to answer, they don't have
to. Yeah, like if they're living their life in the afterlife, they're just like, leave me the fuck alone, dude. What, Muriel? All right, hold on. I think Muriel wants a little bit of attention. Come here. Get a little camera time. Come on. There we go. I think she's like looking at the ring light. I think that's what's up.
What's happening?
This is Muriel, by the way. She's a precious. She's Princess Longpaws.
So, Princess Longpaws.
Yep. She hangs over like the couch with like her paws out. You know, it's very, very cute. So Muriel, you can help me out here. What does this note say? These scratches of notes here are absolutely horrid. Can you move on, Mitch? Oh yeah. What they're saying. Oh yeah. One of the things was it's harder for people of the current age, to move on from the material world, but maybe there's something in history or like when people like weren't so attached where they could like actually move on, where like, you know, I mean, it's kind of one of those things, the same kind of like mindset of like fucking kids won't get off their phone, you know, that same idea, you know. So like that was kind of cool. And then people got into the whole like reincarnation thing that like eats up the ghost pool.
Right.
So
that would be an explanation that kind of makes sense to me, because like if reincarnation is a thing and you're a ghost, then presumably you stay a ghost until you're ready to move on. And if you move on, then you would reincarnate. So maybe that explains the lack of super old ghosts. Maybe they've all just moved on.
And I brought this up before where somebody was years and years ago. When YouTube was more Wild Westy, I'd watch all these crazy videos and all that, and somebody brought it up saying that to be able to keep your soul and your consciousness intact, you have to practice lucid dreaming, because it's like when you enter like the dreaming realm, you're like holding on to your consciousness, right? So it just like do that, and then because when you die, all of a sudden you're like your essence kind of disperses through the cosmos, kind of deal, you know. And so I was like, I always thought that was pretty cool. So if people are dispersing, you know, we throw anything at the wall that sounds like, oh, maybe, you know, kind of deal. I like all these like exploratory kind of like this kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting, because that's a good point. I didn't think about that before, but yeah, maybe there is something to it, that the more you retain who you are, the longer you can live as a ghost.
And I know we've spoken before when you have said that, like, you know, when you're speaking and you made it clear last time that you're not actually speaking, you're doing tarot, and you get kind of like the vibe and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're speaking to a ghost, like, if it's like disjointed, or I think maybe they're not complete or something like that, there might be something like that. A quick sidebar is I'm a tattooer, and I was tattooing somebody, and they're having a real rough time, and I was like, oh, well, what's up? You know, because we kind of play a little bit of, gonna play a little psychotherapy in there. And she's like, well, you're not gonna believe me if I tell you. And I was like, I'll believe a lot of stuff you tell me. Don't worry about that, right? And so she went and said, she's like, well, I'm nervous because I'm having surgery tomorrow. And I'm like, why are you getting tattooed right now? She's like, well, I didn't want to cancel on you. I'm like, thank you, but like, let's wrap this up, right? But she said she was getting surgery tomorrow on the same thing that made her go into a coma for 6 months, like a couple years ago. And I was like, oh man, like that's intense. Like, yeah, like let's get you out of here. But then I was like, can I ask how the coma was, if that was okay? She's like, you're not gonna believe that either. And I was like, you can keep going. I wanna hear. And she said, like, basically, oh, look at this tongue. Look at this cat tongue just blipped right out. Yep. She's like, you're not gonna believe me that either. She's like, I was basically a spirit rocketing through the cosmos, and I was seeing planets and like nebula like washing past me, and then all of a sudden I felt like a tug, and it like ripped me back into my body, and I went from like this complete and utter freeness, this freedom, to being trapped in my body because she had to learn how to like walk and eat and all this stuff over again. So I was like, I understand why you would be so stressed out right now, you know? So, you know, all the little pieces kind of going that route.
Say that again?
I said all the little pieces kind of going that route of like you getting dispersed over like the, you know, the cosmos kind of deal. But
that would be so cool.
Yeah. But then, you know, then you get in, there's, you know, I guess there's a lot of tangents we can go on, you know? Yeah. I mean, so, all right, Mira, does she want to get down? I don't know. Or if she's like just trying to like lean a certain way. All right, you do whatever you want. All right, up. All right, there you go. So if you hear her screaming, that's just her wanting to jump back up. All right, so how do we even like go about this? Do we have to like movie, like, you know, dim the lights and get kind of like
No, so like on my end, I'm already ready. But it would help. Like I could just be like, "Sup, ghosts?
Yeah.
Wants to talk." That's casting a pretty wide net. So like, I think that we could go about it two ways. If you had someone that you really wanted to talk to, we could try that way. Or I could be like, "Hey, can I talk to caveman or whatever?" Specifically, or you could ask some of the questions that you were talking about that you were getting in your Reddit thread, and ask the cards and just kind of see what they have to say. So, like, it's up to you. Or, yeah, I mean, like any specific time period. Basically, this is like fuck around and find out time.
Yeah. Like what kind of net do you cast out at this time?
What kind of net?
Yeah.
So like go wide and be like, why do you stop interacting after however many years? Or try for a specific time period. Anybody who's watching, if you have any suggestions.
Yeah, please, because I'm thinking of like artists, and I'm like, well, that's still like 1700. I'm like, that doesn't help our cause.
No, I know. Well, let's see. I mean, I don't know, because the other interesting thing about that to me is that, like, I feel like some places have much older ghosts. 1924, a Prohibition era ghost. That would be fun to talk to. But like in England, they have ghosts, or at least stories of ghosts that people say they've been interacting with from like much, much, much older than we can imagine. So, is it like a location based thing too? But then you think that Israel would have a lot of ghosts. So.
Right. I mean, anecdotes, you know, who really knows kind of deal. So I think maybe if we try, like we could try 1924 to see if it's like a somebody who's close enough that we could actually speak to, and maybe kind of do that kind of thing. I don't know. Does that sound is a year like a good enough kind of thing? I don't know.
Let's give it a go.
Better than nothing. Yeah, let's do it.
That's your figure, so that's 2 different people.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's because a lot of the original homes and structures in the UK. Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that they have preserved a lot of their history.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of their history. So that could definitely be if they're tied to the building itself. Okay, so what year was that again? 1924.
You got it.
We could someone. Okay, so I'm going to ask if we can speak to someone from 1924, and then we will leave this up to you all. If you have, pose specific questions. Can you channel spirits from different geographic areas? Yes. It's easier for me if I know where and who, but even just where, and I say where and who because I did a reading for a friend of mine who's on a paranormal team at a location, and I like to do them blind a lot of the time, so I don't know a lot of information before I go in, and it was very haunted, so there was too much information coming in, so I got a lot of details, but it took a really long time to sort out, so knowing who it is helps narrow it down. Okay, so 1924, the first card is Trunk, which is moving on to a new life, but it's also secrets revealed, so...
Perfect, that's what I like.
I know, I like that too. This card is the newspaper, which is literally to tell a story. So I'm gonna say key, yes, it's a literal yes card.
Okay.
It means, and the sign, which is also a yes card. So, yes, there is a spirit from 1924 who's willing to speak to us. And where we go from here is up to y'all. What do you want to ask?
Oh, geez. So, I guess I didn't even I feel like I didn't even prepare enough for this.
No, I can just ask what they want to tell us. If you would like what this person wants to say, or we could try to figure who they are.
I think one of my questions would be: Are they a spirit that reaches out to a lot of people?
Okay. A lot of people. We have the fox, which is sneaky fuckery. I didn't even ask if I guess we're on here. Sorry. The fox is like a tricky energy, a trickster energy. It usually means deceit and betrayal. What's the black goop in our barn?
It's a different story. We'll get to that at some point.
Okay, I would like to answer that for you. Yeah,
okay.
Just let me know. The next card is Candle and Illuminations. And the last card is the Bone House, which means it's a safe haven or portal for spirits. So my interpretation of those cards is that someone did them dirty and they are reaching out to anybody who is asking. So probably people like me who are just like, I don't know.
Yeah, like, hey, a little beam of light, and they're like, okay,
Hey, who's there?
Yeah.
Want to check? It's a little bit like, yes, if someone is specifically asking, they're trying to come through and say, hey. So James asked, how did they pass? So I will ask that next, and then we'll see where it leads us. Yeah. How did they pass? We have poison. That was a very specific answer. Poison. The scale is an interesting card. Let me see what the last one is. Oh, and the witch's bottle. Okay, so to me, the poison combined with the scale and the witch's bottle, obviously the cause of death would be poison, but the scale almost always indicates some sort of imbalance, and the witch's bottle is a trap. So, I feel like I could use a tiny bit more information than that. But if the witch's bottle is a trap, seeking balance, evening the scales. That's what it is. Evening the scales, not balance. So probably someone poisoned whoever we're talking to in an act of retribution.
So I guess if we're gonna go down the proper route, I would want to ask, is it important for them to tell us or how they passed?
Okay, good question. Is it important for them to tell us how they passed? I will, Heidi, ask male or female, so I will do that next. Oh, look, woman. Okay, it says the cross is the burdens that you bear or the weight that you carry on your shoulders. The daisy wheel usually indicates some sort of family connection. Offerings is an interesting card. I'm going to look that one up because usually it means like literally leaving an offering if you're doing like deity work or something like that. But that's a strange card to come up in this context. So let's see. Offerings. That one doesn't usually. Offering, grave offerings, magical ingredients, gifts for the dead, asking for help. There we go. Asking for help. And then the bone house again. So, yeah, I think it is important to them. And I'm going to leave the woman card out because I don't know if this is representing the person themselves or if it's pointing towards the person who may have poisoned them. Because for anybody who loves true crime, poison is generally a woman's crime. I mean, not always, but women are known to be poisoners. And it also pointed to a family connection. So I am going to ask if the woman is the spirit that we're talking to or the murderess. And then we'll try to narrow down the gender since that came up. Is this who we're talking to? Or the murderess? And when I ask questions like this, I do look at what the cards have to say, but if all of the cards on one row seem very positive and all of the cards on the next row seem very negative, I tend to read them more as yes or no. So,
gotcha.
You know, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So the first row, I asked if this was the person that we're talking to, and we have the apron, which is a blanket of protection, and it usually refers to like a line of females. And then the anchor is stability and security. Oh, never mind. That was the answer. And the crown is the big payoff. So that is a yes. Yes. Never mind. Yes, it is a woman. That is who we're speaking to. A woman who was poisoned.
All right. Jennifer, Amy, Jeremiah, thanks for coming on in. And James, do we all become spirits ghosts upon passing? James, I think we addressed a little bit of that earlier on when it's just basically talking about how, like, maybe there's different ways you've got to be able to hold on to your own spirit. Maybe if you're, like, there's lessons you've got to learn. We don't know what the rules of the afterlife are. Like, we're getting kind of, like, right now we're dipping into kind of some tropes, which I think is very interesting, whereas, like, oh, somebody was murdered, they need to tell us why, you know, kind of deal. And I'm interested in finding out, why do they want to tell us why, and why do they need that closure? Is it like to be able to move on, just like in the scary movies, like, oh, you rest their bones properly, kind of deal, you know?
Yeah. So an interesting thing about that is that I think that the answer to both of those questions can change depending on who you ask. So James, to answer your question, I don't think that everybody becomes ghosts or spirits. I think you probably choice in the matter, but I don't really know. And as far as the will talking to someone help them pass on, I don't really know, but I will say that I attract, like, for whatever vibration that I send out into, like, the ethers, whatever my calling beacon is, I tend to get women who were wronged. Like, most of the spirits that I talk to are women who have been betrayed or hurt in serious ways. I do get plenty of men who also, they are just like looking to for someone to talk to. They're not even necessarily looking for like, so I don't help people cross over. I just listen to their stories and I retell stories. So I don't know if that's a me thing or if that is an everyone thing, because I feel like there's enough ghost hunters around that are like discovering some of the stories of these spirits, and they're still there. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So I guess a question would be to well, I guess while we have the ghost here, we should probably like talk to them, because I was just saying, like, if you don't help ghosts pass over, is that a thing that is like requested of you, or is that a thing where like people ask you to help with them, or how does that really?
Sometimes people do, because a lot of the time when I'm talking to a ghost like this, I will go onto my Instagram and I will just tell my experience and what I know about the spirit, right? And there was one time recently that a lot of people asked me to help the spirit of this man pass over, and I was like, I don't really do that. Like, it's not something that I do. I've never had anybody ask me on a ghost hunt specifically, but I have had people reach out to me to figure out what's going on in their house and to ask them to move on. And I'm always honest about it, that I can say that I will ask them to move on or to leave you alone, but like that's not my wheelhouse.
Okay, yeah, is it
not a passer honor?
Is that like another whole set of like skills that you have to kind of like develop to be able to help people help ghosts do that?
Yeah, I think that comes more naturally to some people. But I also like this is purely opinion. I don't know for sure that this is how it works, but I think that the spirit has to be ready to cross over. So like even if there's like a whole dramatic setup with like candles and or whatever you want to
pageantry,
do, the spirit has choice. And I think that might be an unpopular opinion in some circles. So like again, I could be wrong, but that's just what I've noticed. Because I've been on enough ghost hunts where they seem to like communicating, and they could move on at any point, and they're still there. So,
so how do you know that they could move on at any point? How do you?
I don't. I'm just assuming.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know if there was some kind of indications, because I'm just trying to get a little bit over that hump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like if it was only about having their stories told, or like only about having people know what happened to them, that once it's figured out, then they could, like, they have that resolution. So I think that there's some spirits that enjoy the afterlife, especially in some of the more like popular haunted locations. They get a lot of interaction. People are coming specifically to see them, and I think that it kind of feeds them in a sense, or like keeps them alive. And they don't necessarily have the motivation to move on. Then maybe like whoever this woman that we're talking to, like maybe she's been reaching out for ages and nobody has listened, or I don't know how many people have been like ghosts from 1924. I don't remember what year we did all that.
You got it. Professional, you got it.
There we go.
The more energy you give to them, the more they feed on, maybe. Yeah, there's always like the power lines and running water and that kind of stuff too. So I guess maybe we should go back to this woman that was poisoned. So most of these are kind of like binary questions we need to kind of ask, right? Where like kind of like positive or negative. So I'm trying to think of how to.
So you can ask it anyway. Yeah, like whatever you're curious about. I could just rephrase it if I don't know how to answer it. I'll just rephrase.
I'm just trying to figure out why. Well, we asked how she passed, I guess, right? So that's why she told us.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if how important that is for her to tell us, and if that is doing anything for her on the other side.
Okay, so I'll ask two separate rows. How important is it for us to know? And if it does anything for her on the other side, I dropped a couple extra cards. I'm going to leave it in case it's important. And then afterwards, Heidi, I will ask your question, does she know who poisoned her? So, does she know what happened to her on the other side? Or, sorry, is it helping her on the other side?
Yeah.
Okay, so the answer of, yeah, I think it is important for her to know what happened to her. The first card is the mortar and pestle, which is usually the act of creating something new, but it's also combining ingredients and allowing the magic to happen.
Interesting.
The next card is the hourglass, which usually indicates some sort of feeling of pressure or feeling like time is running out. And then we have the nest, which is, it's almost always family life. It's usually a safe and comfortable home, but it can also be like putting your feather in the nest. So like, I would say that she wants to go home. And then the spider is the last card up there, and that is creating something, weaving things together. In some cases, it can be like a trap, but in her case, I think that she's hoping to create new pathways that will like lead her out of wherever she is. And as far as is this doing anything for her in the afterlife, we have the harp, which is feelings of peace and harmony, the witch's ball. So usually when this card comes up in the context of a spirit, for me it means that they are feeling confined in some way. I also hold the unpopular opinion that I don't think that spirits are necessarily trapped, but I do believe that they can feel trapped, that something unresolved in their life is making them feel like they can't move on. So the next card is the pillar, which means to lift something up or to place someone almost on a pedestal. So like lifting her above her circumstances. We are giving her feelings of peace. And the last card is the snake, and this is a card of healing. So by talking to us, she is feeling less restricted and finding the healing that she's looking for. So, Heidi, I will ask your question now. Does she know who poisoned her? Fun, because I love a good mystery. I'm just going to give this one more good shuffle. Does she know who poisoned her?
It was just a snake bit her. She's a cool.
Maybe snake bit.
Yeah. She's justice against snake.
Okay, so it's an interesting answer because we have the sun, which is positive things. That came out weird. The sun is a very positive card. It's happiness, but it's also more of a yes card. So yes, she knows who poisoned her, but to add a fun little layer of complication for us, we have the wheel, which is it's a journey. It can be cross-ocean voyages, but either way, it involves a little bit of travel. And then we have the mining pick, which is uncovering something precious, and the fish, which is a card of the subconscious. So it's almost like she knows, but she's going to have to think about it, which is almost like you asked something earlier. How did you phrase it? You were asking, no, you were saying something like maybe the longer time goes on, the more people forget. When you were talking about astral travel type things.
Oh yeah, it was just basically when you die, it just like kind of like dissipates throughout the cosmos kind of deal.
Right. So I kind of wonder if she's been separated from herself for like long enough that she's like, I know this answer, I just have to think about it. So I'm gonna pull another set of cards and I'm gonna ask the same question again in the same format. Does she know who poisoned her? And see if we jog anything. Are her family and friends aware of the circumstances surrounding her death? That will be our next question. Okay. Okay, so the first part is the spider again, which is, in this instance, it's making the connections. The fish, again, is the subconscious. It's there, it's just, she can't quite seem to grasp it. The wishbone, I'm going to have to look up real quick, because generally the wishbone is like, making a wish.
I like how these layer on top of each other. This is cool.
They really do. Okay, so the keywords for the wishbone are ancient divination, reading the bones, making a wish, manifestation, period of good luck and prosperity, and then the pot, which also has notes of prosperity in it. I don't have a pen. I was going to write that down because I feel like...
I can write it down. Pot, prosperity?
Yeah. Do you mind writing down money motivated?
Money.
Because that seems to be...
Got it.
I feel like she's trying to remember, and the theme is money motivated. So James, I'm going to ask you a question. Are her friends and family aware of the circumstances surrounding her death? And then we'll kind of like, if anybody has any other questions they want to ask or can think of a clever way to help her remember, just let us know. Are her friends and family aware of the circumstances surrounding her death? She has more to say for this one than she has so far. We got 6 cards. So, the anchor for stability. Oh, that's actually interesting. Some of these are repeat cards, which can happen. I shuffle in between every reading, but usually if they're repeat cards, it means that there's something important that either I missed or it's an emphasized point. So the anchor did come out before, and the anchor is very much it's your safe space. It's anchoring you in your location.
I think it's come out a lot. I think the anchor's come out a lot in this whole thing. Yeah.
The ring is it's almost like the wheel of the year in tarot, where it's a cycle, it's completion, but there's also an element of like harmony and wholeness with that, like peaceful, happy feelings. So I think that they're aware, because those 2 cards together seem to indicate like a close bond, and I don't think that those cards would have come out if they were in the dark. I think we would have gotten different answers. So we have the mortar and pestle again, and since that one's come up, that one just came up. I'm going to look it up and just see if I missed a meaning for it, because I'm definitely not foolproof.
Carla, you said it meant this. Like, I did research for 6 weeks after, and you were totally wrong.
I researched this. Yeah. I know everything. No. I feel like it's better to just say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. These are in Roman numerals, and occasionally I look at them and they all just look the same to me, so give me just a minute here.
Yeah, when it gets to the LM at V, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, see, we're in the C's. This is CXVI, and I'm like, that's just, you know what, that's a lot.
60,
it's right here.
62.
Fundamental tool, sacred herbs, plant magic, hedge witchery, creating something new, controlling the outcome, focal point, determination, and be more practical. So, I'm going to put a pin in that one, and I'm going to see if it'll make more sense with the spider. And I know that the spider is creation, it is storytelling, it is weaving a web. But again, since it's come up so many times, the spider is weaving a trap, have patience, creation, and artistry, to work your will, to conceal something, and a spiritual teacher. So, the first part, the mortar and pestle, was part of that was plant medicine, I think, and the spider is a trap or to conceal something. So I almost wonder if she was maybe slipped something. Well, obviously she was poisoned, but if it was disguised as something else. The next card is the feather, which is an offering, a spirit message, inherent power, ancestral knowledge, and a spiritual awakening. And the last card is the memento mori, which literally means all things must die. So yes, they were aware that she was given something that she shouldn't have been, and I think that they suspected poison. I don't know if they were able to figure out who it was, but I think they knew enough to give them some peace of mind that she was poisoned and that killed her.
All right, to go back around to kind of like to steer it back to what it was trying to get. So I saw that there's a couple, maybe like 2 or 3. Are they? Is it a reading each time that you lay out some cards, or is it a read? Okay, a couple of.
It's just a continuous reading. I'll only leave a few cards out at a time because otherwise it gets cluttered.
Yeah.
So, like, technically I could leave all of those out the whole time. But
So there was a pressure card that kind of like struck me, and so I wrote. Oh, it cut out a little bit. I'm sorry. What?
Oh no, I just said it was the hourglass, the feeling pressured. Yeah.
So that one like stuck with me because it was like different than the rest of kind of like, I mean, we're getting to like, the or she's being like poisoned, she knows, and all that kind of stuff. And there's a couple other ones that kind of just built on this, but I wanted to kind of focus on that. Like there's pressure, and I want to try to figure out like where is this pressure coming from? Is it the pressure to like, is time running out to be able to like move? Like we use move on as like kind of like a blanket to like go to either the next level or kind of like rank whatever it is, So I want to know like where that pressure is coming from, or when we're talking about where she's not really focused on anything yet. Like if she's like slowly dispersing or whatever, is there a countdown until she can't contact anymore?
Yeah, so I pulled that card out. This is the card that this is the hourglass.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I will ask why is she feeling pressure? And then I will ask, is time running out? So we're gonna have 2 rows. Stabby Gabby.
Yeah, thanks.
I follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everybody.
Yeah, if not my Village Sherwich account, then maybe on my regular people account. But I know your name, so I definitely follow you.
And while she's doing this, everybody, I put a little tip jar on the bottom here just because Carly joined us of her own free will, and she's here, so I give 100% of all tips to our guests that come on. So if you want to pop anything in there, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so the answer, why is she feeling so pressured? The card is the letter, and to me, the letter can be a written communication. It can be a lot of different things, but I think that she feels like she has been waiting a very long time to talk to someone, because the next card that came out is the mining pick again, which is uncovering something precious, or it's uncovering something. She's been waiting for someone to come along and help get to the heart of the matter, so to speak. The next card is the weather vane, which generally means to move in a new direction, but so an omen, a sign, focusing your direction, and a new day, excuse me. So I think that she's been waiting a long time for someone to hear her, so she feels like she can move on. And the last card is the crown, which is the winner, the big payoff. It's kind of like you've reached your goals. So it kind of seems to me like she has just been desperately wanting for someone to pay attention to her. So well done, whoever suggested 1924.
Thanks, Heidi. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Heidi.
Okay, so this leads me to a little bit more where I don't know how far we can like dig with their insights with something like this, with this media, I guess. So I'm trying to think of like she's been waiting for people to come along and talk to her, and it sounds like to like kind of like relieve this like need to tell her story. So because she's getting pressure because she needs to start moving on, I guess, right? So I think what I wanted to focus on next is like, what does really that mean, and how do we really frame that question? Is it kind of like when we die we move on, or is it like when they die they move on? Is there like a way to kind of to ask if she knows what the next stage of like why that she wants to like relieve this pressure? Wish I had a clearer kind of question for it. If anybody in chat can rephrase it better for me, that'd be great.
So I think what comes to mind for me is like I'm trying to figure out how to put it into words because I work more on feelings. Mm-hmm. So what it feels like to me is like like in the cartoons when it was like Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny and on the stage performing and the giant hook would come mm-hmm. and like pull them off the stage. It's a little bit like that where she feels like she's being pulled onto something else, but she's
wants to go in a different direction.
Yeah, I don't want to say that she's like fighting it, but like she doesn't want to go until someone knows. And I don't know why that's so important because it seems like her family and friends understood what happened to her. But maybe it's just, I think it's the sense of injustice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, if you've been wronged in life, like that echoes through like everything that you do. Like a partner cheats on you or something like that. Like that's forever like wormed in your brain. I guess if somebody kills you, that like echoes through your whole soul, right?
Yeah, so that's definitely what it feels like to me. Where it's like, she's like she feels the pull to move on, but she also feels like it's like screaming into the void. Like someone needs to hear what I have to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the way it feels to me.
We're the go see therapy.
Go see therapy. I call myself Casper's dad a lot because it's like the ghost therapist because that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, jeez. It doesn't end, huh?
Yeah. So I kind of feel like what I'm gonna ask her, and then if this prompts any other questions for anybody in the chat or for you, then feel free to ask. Mm-hmm. But I think what I'm gonna ask her is what she would like us to know about her death, because it seems like, it seems like that's pretty important to her. So we'll just kind of like
might get a little insight with it, yeah.
What's on your mind? You know what is?
Tell me about your day.
Yeah, what's going on over there? What does she want us to know about what happened to her? Okay, so the poison card came out again, so that's fun. She's kind of just reiterating that she has been holding on. The boar is strength, bravery, and determination. The casket it can be depression, it can be dread, but it's also just like, she's dead, like she's super dead. And then we have the poison card again, so like, she's kind of just like, almost agreeing that like, yes, this is what I want. So we have the pedestal card, which is, it can be literally lifting up, but it can also be giving someone a spotlight. We have the newspaper, which is storytelling or an expose. The funeral sign, which is another yes card. And the door knocker, which is a spirit visiting. So I guess she's been waiting for the right opportunity to tell her story. So now that we have covered that again, I will ask her what she would like to say specifically. Kind of. Sorry, I have my Great Pyrenees with me. He can't stand not being with me, but it sounds like my kids might have gotten home. So it's like,
it's all right. My Basset Hound I'm sure he's into trouble right now. So.
he's the biggest, dumbest goofball. I love him so much, but like he has so much trouble. Okay. All right. Now that what does she want us to know about the manner of her death? We're gonna try that again, and if she won't answer, then we can move on and ask other questions, and I will revisit this on my own. Oh look, the witch. That's me.
Reaching out to you.
Reaching out to me. So the smoke is confusion. So the smoke is confusion and being unable to see clearly, which I know that she's expressed a few times already tonight. So I don't know why she desperately wants to talk to someone but doesn't seem to be able to say what happened to her. But then we have the bear, which is regeneration and independence. It can also mean fertility in some settings. This card, the staying, is ritual work. It's going deeper. And then the painting is a family life. So I would say as it is right now, she feels foggy about the details, but there may be a connection to her family. Maybe a family member who, like, it feels like everybody knew what was going on, but it could have been a family member specifically who poisoned her. But yeah, maybe, like, this may be something that I'll follow up with, but so, like, I feel like I'll pause on trying to figure out what happened to her right now and turn the mic back to you guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if does it get, like, a little... I don't want to, in the like movies and stuff like that, where like somebody's like they're contacting a spirit, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm just so drained. Does it get a little draining of like trying to figure out what people are trying to talk to you about? Where you're like it's a little frustrating, and then you're just like, I don't know, should I like move on or should I just like keep going, kind of deal? Like, what kind of responsibility do you feel to talk to this person?
It is. I will say that it is a little bit like. I don't know, because it's kind of like, well, you clearly really wanted to talk to someone. Like, how do you not know what you want to talk about now? the floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, in the old days, you go to a record store, and then you're like, oh, wait, what did I want to get? Because there's...
What are we talking about here? Someone is finally listening. What did I want to say? So in cases like this, like in the moment, I will try a few different times and see if I can figure it out. And if I can't, then I will usually finish up what I'm doing, and then the next day I'll sit down with it. And it could be too that, well, I mean, this is a huge deck. Look at this deck. It's enormous.
Oh, you know what? That's crazy because of how many of the same cards came up.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Like, and I shuffle them between every question that I ask. I shuffle the deck. So the fact that they're all coming up repetitively is kind of telling. But it can be that a different deck could give a different answer. So in cases like this, where she's very clearly saying, "I want to talk. Something happened to me. I can't move on until I talk about this," but then she doesn't know what she wants to say. I kind of just let it sit for a little bit, and then I come back and say, what's up?
Yeah.
So in this case, probably tomorrow morning, I'll sit down with it. And if I get anything, I will post it to my Instagram, and I'll tag your account. So that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to give you homework, I guess. Right.
This is my favorite kind of homework. Yeah. I really don't. This is my favorite thing to do. If somebody could pay me to do this, that would be great. Thank you.
You just need a rich benefactor,
I know. I need someone like who is very into ghosts and mysteries and is just willing to pay me to exist, to ask these questions into the void, to say, hey, I will tell these stories, but I need to know. No, this really does, like, this is why I like it. The White Lotus, older woman, Tanya.
Yeah, have you seen that show yet?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's incredible when you get a chance, very good. So, a quick tarot question, I guess, right, would be, technically, is like the whole, like you're shuffling, and of course, that means you have intention of what the question's going to be. So is the spirit like nudging like what cards are coming up kind of deal, or is like the deck itself is so like charged with intention, I guess, you know what I mean, where it kind of all just kind of like it lines up a certain way? Is that what kind of the theory behind it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mixture of both. So like I'll hold the cards up. So what I do when I ask a question is I literally shuffle through like this until I feel like I should stop, and I pull that card. I know readers who will pull just from the top, like they'll just flip cards over from the very top, or readers who will only read the cards that stick out. So I'll say that I think that it's the intention and the spirit, like team working, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then the rest is up to the reader on how to do it.
Yeah. All right. So if we're gonna let this lady like kind of gather her thoughts, and we'll you can revisit her tomorrow. So maybe is it cool if we try again with maybe like an earlier year or something like that to try to see if we can get somebody? 1200 just keeps coming into my brain, and I don't know how we're gonna. Yeah.
All right, that's gonna be fun. Okay, 1200. Can we speak to a ghost from 1200? And let's see.
They're just gonna be so religious.
Probably Crusader. Okay, so we have Tassiography. It's reading the leaves. It's a tea leaf reading, but since I don't do that, it just means divination.
Cool.
The dog is loyalty and devotion. Funeral, that's a yes card. Okay, so the next card is the lock, which is usually a secure connection. And then the rolling pin, which is another card of connection, but it's also community. So, yes, you can talk to a ghost from 1200. What would you like to know?
I feel like also like those are cards that didn't come up at all tonight, so I enjoy that part of it.
The funeral sign came up, but yes.
Rolling pin.
I'll be interested to see how the cards change, because usually when I do readings, it'll change based on the person. So now we are speaking to someone from 1200, and I'm just going to ask who.
Yeah, be respectful of them first, you know?
Who is here?
Yeah.
Who's here? Okay. A man. Okay, so that is an interesting answer. I don't quite know what to make of this answer, I'm not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. But the first card is the sachet, which is it's usually gathering magical ingredients. But that one really threw me because I think that one that one didn't come up tonight. Let me see. The sachet is a magical bag. Ingredients. Protection, to channel your energy, and intention. And then we have the amputation saw, which is removing a toxic influence and saving yourself. So, like, literally cutting off a diseased limb is the idea behind that card. And then we have the man. So, very clearly. We got woman earlier.
Yeah.
And this card is the embalming fluid, which is to protect and preserve. So
we're getting a lot of protection stuff. What does that really?
We are getting a lot of protection stuff. I don't see that as a sign like, hey, you need to protect yourself. I think that I was mostly joking about the Crusades, but with the man card there, and it seems like hero complex type guy. Like, he was channeling all of his intention to protect. I don't know who he was trying to protect. His family, his community, his village, property, whatever. to save them from this toxic influence. And if we're talking about the 1200s, then there was probably a lot of like raiding type thing going on. So yeah, I feel like this was probably someone who died in a literal act of protection to protect from this great evil coming in,
Mm-hmm.
is what it feels to me.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, I guess with our last person that we had, there was like, I'm trying to see if like maybe there's some kind of parallels with the confusion with the story of like kind of like if they've been a spirit for that much longer. Like what kind of difference is there in between their experience, I guess?
Right. So well, we already kind of know how he died. So I guess to compare the two, do you want me to ask if he can tell us about how he died? Because that seemed to be where she lost the thread, was she knew she was poisoned, and after that, everything went fuzzy, right? Mm-hmm. So this man is already telling us that he was killed defending his people, his township, whatever the phrasing is. So to compare the two, we'll just ask if he can tell us more about situations surrounding how he died, is how I'll phrase it. And then, because I will say that a lot of the spirits that I talk to do know, we're getting a lot more cards. But most spirits that I talk to do have a pretty good idea of what happened to them. So, like, there haven't been as many as that woman who didn't know.
I'm going to be real unprofessional right now. I'm going to run and pee. Give me 1 minute. So hold on 1 second.
Go for it. I will look at these cards while you're gone. So the interesting thing is that a lot of these cards did come up with that woman. And I'm not sure if she's interjecting. So I'm going to go over all of these cards in just a minute, but I'm going to ask the same question, and then I'm just going to compare the answers, because, like, literally every other than one. I know, it is like, she's like, I'm ready, but she's still not really answering. But, like, we have the spider, the cross, the offerings, the wishbone. The snail did not come up before, and that one came up this time. The boot, which is being on the right track. The hourglass, and the wheel. So, yeah, I am wondering if she is interjecting here, so I'm gonna just rephrase, mostly just so that I can double check for me, and ask again if this man from 1200 can tell us more about how he died, because it is entirely possible that I just got my wires crossed.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that the first set of cards that I pulled was that woman coming through again, and that will happen from time to time if there's multiple spirits in one sitting where they're like, hi, hello, I would like the floor again. Yeah, so while you're gone, I was saying that almost every card that I just pulled, so I'll hold them up for you. We have the spider again, the cross again, the offerings again, the wishbone again, the snail is new, and the snail usually means like home, safety, moving at your own pace, and the boot is being on the right track. So, but then we have the hourglass and the ship. So I kind of think that was her interjecting and being like, yes, I forgot. Getting her 2 cents in, so to speak. So I asked the same question again, and to the man from 1200, and asked how he died again. And this time we got cemetery, which is a peaceful resting place. the rolling pin, which I'm pretty sure came up for him. With connection and community. The memento mori, which means all things must die, and the glove, which is to challenge and to handle with care. So I think that he is agreeing that he did in fact die in service for his community, and it's not a duel because that's like the wrong time frame, but
right.
like this it is that kind of vibe that like he died for his people. So that was interesting. I haven't had anyone butt in during a reading like that for a while, especially because she didn't really say anything new. But yeah, so that first row was definitely the woman. I'm going to mix these cards in different areas so that they are super shuffled.
Maybe they're ghost friends, and he's like, hey, I guess you can talk, right?
I'm a gentleman. I'm a gentleman. Have your say.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that the man from 1200 is just confirming that he did die in service to his community. Mm-hmm. So whatever you want to ask him from here on.
So I think, I'm just trying to get at like what, rather than the experience of living was, I'm trying to get to see what their experience of being a spirit is.
Let's ask him, because if he is still around from 1200, then
he's an old hat, he's like, being a ghost. It rules.
Yeah, exactly. What is your experience being a spirit? Okay. The first part out is the ring, and to me that means it feels sort of peaceful. I don't think that he really has a lot of lingering regrets. So the next card is the pins, and that card is interesting because on the one hand, it is one of the meanings is to prick a witch or a method of torture, and another meaning is to literally mend something. So it could mean, I don't know, it started on such a peaceful note. I kind of feel like he's finding the healing that he was looking for. Maybe it's taken some time. Oh yeah. So the next card is the scale, which is balance. It can be balancing the scales, but in this case, it feels more like finding personal balance, like personal stability. And the next card is the cow, which has lots of ties to family and abundance. And for someone who died, let me see. So for some fertility, health, and wealth, the earth, abundance, survival, having the resources, and basic necessities. So I feel like he's looking beyond the need to survive and figuring out. It almost seems like he's saying he's figuring out his place in the world just as a ghost. And then the last card is the pot. And that, in this context, let me look it up real quick because the pot is magical abundance, sacred, the womb, the witch's cauldron, recipe, nourishment, fulfillment, and creating something. So I kind of feel like it almost feels like he's saying like this is an in-between stage for him. And another thing that I'll say is that I think that time passes differently for us than it does for spirits because time is a made-up concept. Yeah. So, like, I'm not sure why this man from 1200 seems much more clear and understanding of where he's at than this woman from 1928.
Yeah, that's very interesting in this like speaking to people from another realm. You'd be like, I never thought about that. Yeah.
I would have thought that it would be harder to understand him, but he seems to just be saying that this was his time to figure out where his priorities lie and to kind of like process. Maybe he was torched. I don't know. I can ask.
I think too with and with tarot, my limited experience with it. I think since we are dealing with kind of like torture, that's what it was. With feelings, and I think like feelings kind of transcend kind of like boundaries of linguistic boundaries or like even time boundaries, because I think even it's like cavemen still felt the same kind of emotions that we do now, so it's easier for them to like kind of evoke that and like have that present through the cards kind of deal, so we can communicate fairly well that way. I think that's pretty interesting seeing that happen right now.
Yeah. Tortured. Sorry, I read that completely wrong.
Oh.
I have a touch of dyslexia, so he could have been tortured, yes. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I don't have all the answers, like, for sure. Right. I like to just ask anytime.
Yeah. So could we ask if he is aware of what, because it seems like he's at peace and he's maybe surrounded by family and all that kind of thing. Is he just like kind of like in a holding area until he moves on to the next kind of?
Are you in a holding area?
Till he can move on to the next like kind of stage, you level up.
We'll level up. Oh yeah, the answer is yes already. So the first card is the Daisy Wheel, which is a card of family. It's something that's passed on from generation to generation. So I almost feel like that was a nod to you to be like, yes, I am. Like, I'm with these generations of my people. But the next card is the Door, and one of the meanings for that literally means transition. He's thinking and seeing his lineage and watching them grow, and he's at peace on a bigger level and understanding his place over time, watching it all change. Yes, maybe he's enjoying watching them grow. I think so. The next card is the Horseshoe, which is it's good luck. It can be protection, like hanging a horseshoe up, protection from evil. It also protects the home. So he could literally be acting as a protector for his lineage. Wherever that may be. One of the other meanings for the horseshoe is a helpful stranger. So even though his descendants may not know him or remember him in any way, he may be remembering them. But so I feel like yes, holding period, but that was perfect, VP. That holding period, yes, but he does seem to be still as a protector of sorts.
It's nice to meet a spirit that has that like sense of contentment, It's not all kind of like, help me, I need help, like.
He seems pretty chill. Like he's like, I kind of like him. He's fine with where he's at. I feel like he's one that's like. I kind of feel like he's one that chose to stay, but not. I don't think that he chose to stay to like resolve something. I think that he came to peace with what happened to him a long time ago, and his choosing to stay is for his people again.
All right, so I think if we can let this guy hang out with his ghost kids, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So I think what I want to try to see if we can explore, maybe like do like one more person or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
If there's a way to try to, what I'm kind of focusing in on this time is I'm trying to think of like somebody who is close to moving on and what that means, because I don't really know, and if they even know. Or if it's just this kind of like, if we're talking like mostly just about emotions, you know what I mean? Like if it's just like, I feel like I sense like I have to go that way, but I don't know. So I wonder if there's a way we can get any greater insight, and if there'd be a way to do that,
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask just that, and we won't try to figure out who this person is or what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm going to ask for any spirit who is close to moving on, to whatever is beyond this. Close to moving on if they can tell us what that's like for them. So
yeah, perfect.
Let's see. I haven't asked that specifically. I've had a lot of spirits tell me that they are afraid to move on because they don't know what's next, but I don't think that I've ever asked exactly that. You know, I don't really know. The man card came out again, so I guess whoever we're talking to is a man. The first card is the snail, and the snail is, it can reference your home. It's moving at your own pace. I'm going to look it up real quick because I feel like I'm betting that there's a meaning that I don't normally associate with it. The snail, to slow down, to move at your own pace, patience, progress, noticing all of your surroundings, and the small things. So I think that time slowing down is the important thing here. And I think that what they're saying specifically is that time doesn't have as much meaning. And then the rope is a feeling of security, tethered to something, but also I was trying to describe with that woman the feeling of the tug of moving on. I described it like a hook. But, sorry, that's my dog. He can stay up. Feeling like a hook, but it is almost like a string tied around your navel, kind of like tugging at you. But the next card is knitting needles, which is I actually don't remember. Knitting needles.
Attacking a witch, I think, was one of the things.
The red thread, intricate practice, and honing your skill. Yeah, it's rattling around in my brain. It'll come out in a minute. But with time ceasing to matter and generally feeling the need to pull on, followed by the knitting needles, which is an intricate. I'm feeling like it's a lot to explain through cards.
Yeah.
So we have the man next, and then we have the drum, which is to move heaven and earth in this instance. And then the crow's foot is a talisman, and it is a protection from evil normally. But I'm just going to double check that I didn't miss something with that one. Because the crow's foot, folk magic, powerful talisman, superstition to attract good luck. So I almost feel like the afterlife can mean, we all know this already, the afterlife means different things to different people, depending on what your belief system is, and maybe that's why the knitting needles came up with the answer of the intricacy of the question, because it could be that what happens to you when you're ready to move on depends on your belief system. And
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, it could also mean in some spiritual communities, you can choose reincarnation, and you can also choose not to reincarnate. So I feel like that comes with some of the intricacy that it's safe. It's a comfortable place to be, but you have to kind of decide where you want to go.
Yeah, I think I'm with doing this. I'm kind of creating a mental map of what's going on, but at the same time, it's a little harder conceptually because if time doesn't mean the same things, or I'm well, let's go a little bit further back and maybe they'll be closer to ascension kind of deal. They're if they're like, come on, man, that doesn't mean anything kind of deal. But so yes. When we get this kind of a whole bunch of it seems like the last reading was a little bit of a couple random different things, and I'm trying to piece together what that can mean. But at the same time, if I don't have the language in which to speak about a realm, then I'm I don't know.
I know. I kind of personally, I think that this is one of those things where we can throw theories about all day, every day. Yep. But I think that at the end of the day, we won't really know until pattern, and I also think that the answer will change depending on what spirit you're speaking to. So I think that woman that we were talking to first probably would have a different answer than the man who chose to stay to protect his family. And whoever we were just talking to now that was like, it's complicated. It's safe. It's comfortable, but it's complicated, you know? I think it's one of those things that it's like, I don't know. I can change. And I don't think there's any, like, one way. I don't think there's any one right or wrong answer.
Yeah, especially if you're not dealing with a tangible realm, you know, I think that's like, you know, and if your mind has more power over it than, you know, this wall that I'm pressing against or anything like that. If your mind's got more power over things, then obviously it's going to be changed for everybody. So it's harder to dig into that. Yeah.
Yeah, what you think and what you believe will change the outcome.
So I'm gonna have to, I'll have to like get into some weird, wacky religion that, like, you know, when everybody dies, you're a trillionaire on an island with, you know.
You're a trillionaire.
Yeah.
You
Hi, Bradley. Hi, Bradley. Well, this is hey, buddy. This is the hound nose right here.
Oh,
yeah, good boy. Yeah, he's 2. Well, he's gonna be 2, and he's very needy. He's a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, should we, with that kind of like new understanding of that, like, maybe the answer isn't as well defined as I would like to be able to make into like this like little like, you know, like, all right, we got 6 levels of fucking death, you know, that go like, you're in here, you're reuniting your family, the next one you're you know, water droplets going to, whatever. So I think, I don't know how much insight we can get from maybe like the next one. Could we see if we could go further, deeper? Can we go further? Can we?
You can ask literally whatever you want to. Whether or not I can answer, I mean,
right.
But whatever questions you have, throw them out and let's see.
Can we see if we can talk to somebody that has moved on to the next realm to see if what that actually means to them?
Yes, we can do that. Yeah, that's exciting. I haven't tried. Well, okay, that's not true. But yes and no. Yes, let's do that. Okay. I had like 20 different thoughts, like ping-ponging in my head, and I was like, which one's going to come out? I don't know. Okay. Can we talk to someone who has already moved on? What is their experience like?
How deep does the power of the tarot cards go, you know?
The power of tarot. I am betting, without flipping these cards over yet, I'm betting that the answer is going to be kind of the same. Where it's like, well, for me it's this, but...
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This actually, do you know what? I think you're going to be excited about this.
Okay.
I'm excited about this. I don't know where this is going, because I will tell you, like, before I start, that I do not believe in hell, and I don't necessarily believe that you're being that you could be punished for eternity, but apparently this person feels like they're being punished. So the first card is the shell, and I'm going to look up the meanings for that one. I'll hold up the card in just a second. Because the shell means something different to me. Okay, the shell, and it means an offering, grave goods, where the land meets the sea, inner world, retreat, safety, and long-held beliefs. So, I don't know if they are personally challenging my long-held beliefs, or if they're like, hey, I didn't think that this can happen to me. Because the next card is the fish, which has come up before, and it's a card about diving into your subconscious, or into like the great unknown, essentially. But then we have the witch.
Bradley.
It's me. Sometime. If I'm doing the reading, it's like, look at this little witch thinking she knows all of the answers, you know? The next card is the nest, which it's a safe, comfortable home. It's putting a feather in your nest. It is building yourself a little secure little place to exist. But then the next card is the executioner and the gallows. And the executioner is, I mean, it's what it sounds like. It's an execution. But I will look up the keywords for that one because I bet there's something fun in there. Not fun necessarily. The
fun for us,
executioner is being punished, judge and jury, the law, incompetence. And then the next card is the gallows, which is unfair persecution. So, like, I'm not entirely, like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel like whatever is happening right now is like, this bitch over here feels like she knows this doesn't happen, but I'm over here suffering for the crimes that I've been falsely accused of. But also, to me, that would be someone who is refusing to take accountability for their actions. And again, like, I could be in the wrong here. Like, I could be wrong. Maybe there is some terrible afterlife that you go to. But this feels like a sassy ghost being like, excuse you, I am suffering. I am suffering with the unfairness of my life.
Maybe they did cross over and they're just like, what the fuck did I do? Why did I do this?
Why did I do this? It sucks over here, and that's interesting too. But again, if you are going on your own belief systems, what if that person was someone like, living in medieval times where everyone burns in hell, and they literally did. Maybe they were a terrible person, and they literally are suffering for eternity. I don't know. I don't necessarily like that thought train, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Or maybe they missed a Hail Mary that they were told to say because they jerked off. They told the fucking parishioner, and they're like, well, 13 him, only 12. You're like, well, I'm in hell now, so cool.
That's my guy.
Yep.
Yeah, you didn't follow this one random rule, so boom. The eternal fiery pits of hell for you.
So can we dip into that a little bit? Can we ask them if it's because of they feel that way because they didn't follow the rules?
Wait, because you didn't follow the rules? I like pestering religious. They're super not hurting anybody, but I like the boot on the right track. Yes. The syringe. That's interesting because that is usually protection from sickness. But there must be another meaning here that I don't know. Let's see. The syringe. Life force and influence. An addiction. Drug use. Addiction and drug use. Okay. The glove is... Wow. These are all going to challenge me today because the glove is usually handled with care, but I'm betting that it's not right now. The glove, don't get your hands dirty, to conceal, to disguise, to challenge your beliefs, and to handle with care. So this could be, let's see what the last one is. Ooh, the anchor. And the anchor does have, I almost always think of it as a feeling of security, but it could also be being dragged down. So I'm going to ask for some clarification on this because in my mind, this can go two ways. This is either someone who suffered from some form of addiction that they hid from people around them and it literally dragged them down, or it can be the challenging your beliefs thread.
All right.
So I'm just going to, was this an addiction that dragged them down is what I'm going to ask. Yes, the big payoff. The Mort Bell is a call to worship or to change the energy. The viewing table and the trunk. So the viewing table is usually to be put on display or to be more visible and the trunk is uncovering secrets. So I would say that this is someone who went to extreme lengths to make sure that they were not able to be seen for who or what they were. And it honestly could be that they've passed on and they're just sitting there like beating themselves up. Like,
I feel like that this is pretty interesting because if we are speaking to somebody that has, you know, they've died and then they go through the experience of whatever the thin realm is next to ours and they're passing on, they're still tortured by what they had done in their living space, if that's like what they did during their life. Yep. And so, because you think of moving on as like a finality kind of thing of like, like, oh, go to the light or whatever it is kind of deal where you're like, okay, am I always going to be... Move on to the light. Yeah. Carol Ann, move on. Am I always going to worry about, or are they always going to worry about like what happened or what they did and all this kind of shit? But if it's a religious person, I guess it's so ingrained in them that like no matter what, even if they do like, oh shit, I'm in this next fucking realm, they're still haunted by Catholic guilt. Whatever guilt, put it in there, guilt,
A blanket term. Mm-hmm. Religious guilt, religious shame, whatever. But yeah, I feel like if you say Catholic guilt, pretty much everybody knows what you
mean. Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting too. So if I'm making this map again, that is bound by my shitty earthbound rules, like I'm like, oh, next rule, okay, cool. So we're just on another level of the same thing. Well, similar things, I guess. Yep. I'm trying to think of. Oh man.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect that answer.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of with you. I'm like, what? Where do you go from? I thought that we were gonna ask that and we were gonna get an answer that was like, yeah, it's fucking sweet over here. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
Look at I'm happy.
Yeah. I'm not like starving to death, like sipping on a puddle. I'm able to just like live and exist in my own consciousness.
Tormented by your own demons or whatever.
Yeah. Apologies, Ghost. I'm sorry that you have to deal with that shit.
I know. I did not expect that answer. So, but also, it just kind of goes to show that like anybody can claim to know all of the answers, but do we really?
Right. So what if we're gonna delve? I know I said one more, but if we're gonna delve deeper, do you have like kind of like something that you've always wanted to like push, or because like I know you deal like a lot of like the kind of like people that died, or the people that reach out to you, and like want their story told. Is there like kind of like a depth that you would want to like push further like right now with this kind of stuff that would be interesting to you?
I don't know, because I don't know, because I kind of have accepted a while ago that like things would change. Does one spirit get harassed by other spirits? So we should ask that, because like if there's one thing, then my one thing will change depending on who I'm talking to. You know what I mean? So like in this particular case, I'm like, I don't know. I clearly have to rethink the way that I think about things, but it's like, I don't know. So let's ask. And I feel like I can. Okay, so I'm going to answer your question just based on my opinion, and then we'll see what the cards say.
Perfect.
Does one spirit get harassed by other spirits? I personally say yes, because I've been on some investigations and had some conversations with spirits, like with EVPs going on. So like the recordings were picking up on this too, where like one spirit was keeping others contained in the location somehow. Or just like two spirits who like clearly have beef with each other and will not let it go, even though they've been dead for so long, So like I say yes, but let's ask. Does one spirit get harassed by other spirits? let's see what the cards say. And then I can either be completely wrong or vindicated. And that's fun for me. Executioner. So, let me see what the other cards are. Spider, the Sachet, the Pillar, and the Spirit Board.
Have we had the Spirit Board before?
We have not had the Spirit Board before, and the Spirit Board means spirit communication. So that one threw me a little bit because I was prepared to say yes, because they kind of control their own destiny, so to speak. So, like, just the way that, like, if you and I wanted to pick a fight for whatever reason, like, we could choose to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spirits have the same capability. Like, they can choose to pick a fight with you. I've had a spirit yell at me during ghost hunts when I was being very polite. I will add that just like didn't like that I was asking questions and wanted to fight. So like they can pick fights. Like just because they're dead doesn't necessarily mean that they're elevated from that kind of base.
Petty, squabbles. Yeah.
But the Spirit Board threw me, so, like, now it's my turn. I know that we said one more, but I just want to ask real quick what that was about, because I don't know if that's just, like, referencing that, what I already said, that spirits can choose to, they can fight or not, or if it's someone being like, yeah, and I'll tell you. So, I just want to ask what the Spirit Board is about, and then we can wrap it up. The Spirit Board is the Sun, which is a yes card. The Cat, which is intuition. And the Deer, which is being on the right track. Okay, so I didn't really need to clarify. It's just saying that, like, yeah, spirits they can choose to pick a fight if they want to. They don't. I kind of feel like the best example is if you're an asshole in life, you're probably going to be an asshole in death. Like, your personality doesn't change all that much unless you are willing to change it, unless you're willing to put the work in and not suck so much.
Like that Stampy the Elephant Simpsons episode.
Exactly, yes.
So, I guess, however, if you think about the, I've had another, person on, she was a person that gives a lot of ghost tours, and she's like, I'm in contact with a lot of spirits, and she's a medium and all this kind of stuff too. But she was saying that, like, basically there's a whole nother realm in which, these spirits live, like a deal. So I guess if, they have their spiritual neighborhood, and, maybe there's some dickhead spirits on the, end of this block kind of deal, which kind of sucks to think about. You got to deal with that after.
It does. Nobody wants to deal with that when they're dead,
Yeah. And I think about that too with the future with space travel and all this kind of stuff. We're like, oh shit, we're gonna go to Mars, but we're gonna bring our shittiness to Mars as well when we have our Yeah,
it's gonna be great. Way to go, us.
So cool. We just get to bring all that in every place we go, in every realm we go.
So
great. Yep. Awesome. Maybe that's why people do choose to you know what, dude, I'm gonna just disperse. I'm gone. We're good.
I'm fine, I'll just stay a ghost. It's cool, I like it here.
Yeah. Jeez. And, well, yeah, this is, I think, some of the stuff that we talked about tonight, I think, is, it did get me to rethink some things of, especially with, time and with, just thinking of, levels of shit, all that. I think this is, it's not as, cut and dry as you'd think,
I think it's more complex, it's more intricate than
yeah.
the cards.
Which is another bummer thing too. Just everything is just cool, just more things to navigate, more things. But if you go on the whole, you kind of what you believe happens. I think is kind of a nice way to think of that. I think it was kind of cool to see that a little bit verified. But yeah, no, I would love to try to come up with maybe for the next one when in a couple months be like, Carly, you want to come on again? Maybe we can see if there is some kind of depth that we can hit that is pushed. I'm gonna have to rethink some actual questions and see what else can happen because I like I like kind of like, swimming through the other universes and maybe like kind of catching glimpses of them, so if we can like go even deeper. I'm like the James Cameron of
James Cameron of Ghosts.
Yeah.
Titanic. Yeah,
So,
no, literally time. These are my favorite chats to have. But I mean, like, I do like finding out what happened to ghosts, but I also love to ask questions like that. And do I know all the answers? No, I don't. But I like to try to solve them. So anytime.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Carly, thank you. I appreciate it. This was a blast of a show. I've been uploading all the audio to YouTube, so whenever I get that up there, I'll send you the link and all that, and you can use whatever. I don't care, And then, so I guess you've got a couple podcasts. You've got a couple of different things you're doing. You want to tell the people that are still here any places they can find you?
Thank you. Yeah. So right now, the podcast that I'm doing is called Drinks and Disasters.
It's fun, by the way. It's real fun.
It's real fun. I do it with my friend Busy, and the entire premise of the show is that we drink and are in fact disasters. So sometimes we talk about tarot, sometimes we talk about cryptids. The common thread is that we drink and rant as we go. But other than that, I will have a few other projects coming up on my page, and the best way to keep up with me is on Instagram at The Village Tarot Witch. I am on TikTok, and technically I have a Facebook, but I'm not necessarily very active on either one of those. So if you want to see what I'm up to, follow me at The Village Tarot Witch.
Perfect. Yeah, and she's a great follow because of content all the time and all stuff. And with that, since you are so active on that, and you're great at coming up with content and stuff like, do you have any like bigger projects that you're working on too? Like, are you working on like, let's say like a book, or are you working on any like kind of like long-term things? Because you're so good at like kind of doing like this kind of like post every day, you're doing all this shit. I'm like, well, she's a planner, she knows what she's doing. What else you got in the pipe?
So I have a lot of projects going on. I am working on a book. I actually have like 2 books in the works. I just finished a short horror story today that I am very proud of. I don't know what to do. It's pretty long, but
I think the Feminine Macabre is asking for submissions right now, right?
They are, right. They want, so I am going to be, well, if I can, now that I'm finished my other story, so I am going to try to write something for them. But around about January, I will be opening an Etsy shop with some of my art. It's not necessarily going to be tarot related, but there will be some witchy shit in there. And I am writing books, and eventually I will be releasing a shadow work program. And shadow work is basically the process of uncovering the hidden parts of yourself that are in need of healing. So that would mean that you would get to work with me one-on-one, and I would kind of guide you through the process of understanding and getting better in touch with yourself.
I think we all need a little bit of that anyway, so that's great.
I mean, too.
Awesome. All right, Carly, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And like I said, I'm sure I'm going to ask you to come back on again, and you're fun to talk to, great time, so thank you.
No problem.
All right. Bye. Take care, Carly. Oop. Well, I guess I ended the show, and I didn't mean to.
I cannot say good enough things about Wednesday, exactly.
I guess the audio podcast continues from here. So, I meant to just end the call, not end the show. Oh, well. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to try to figure out what to do next. And as far as shows, this is the end of the shows for the 2022. So we'll see if we can get some guests on, see if we can get some new stuff going. And I'm very excited. All right. Thanks.